Okay, welcome back. So last time we were talking about these aspects and different aspects of automation and how AI and agentic workflows um, affect and impact the the flow. Especially when we're talking about enterprises like insurance and insurance brokers, about how we can capitalize on the technology. So going through this document, I didn't write this document. I don't know Jason. He's obviously clear that Jason is not getting paid for this. He's independent. And so am I. I'm just trying to give an aspect of how taking this document about insurance and then taking it to the next level. So here we talk about new metrics. Measuring your agencies used to be simple. So tracking revenue, counting staff, calculating commissions, and all those aspects. So you already know what they were, the KPIs, and the different aspects. So why the new metrics matter? So here we talk about automation, um, routing logic, AI layers, human enhancement, uh, efficiency reinvestment task, velocity, and labor replaced over time. So we'll get into his specific metrics, but I just want to talk about the from the AI point of view, where a lot of projects have failed with AI, agentic, and how to capitalize. And actually, a lot comes down to the metrics about how the AI uses metrics for continual improvement. So I'm going to swap to a diagram here to talk about it. So something that we've learned, especially in the world of AI, reinforcement learning from Google and other projects, is that we have to learn about a situation. AI is not a static process; it's a dynamic process. So if you build your AI in the concept of one shot, like send a description, get a response, you're going to get an average response. If you think about it as stepwise, then you're going to have which I talked about in the last one, like the concept of a reviewer. Then you're going to get a multi step or a thought process, as they're described in the worlds of LLMs. Um, Now, if we think about the agents in the terms of reinforcement learning. I'm not going to get too technical here, but I think it's important to think about it. The projects that are failing now are providing the LLMs or agentic workflows, but without really a workflow, without the consideration of workflow. So I want to take the concepts from and the learnings from Google and I think it's DeepMind and other companies and what they've learned about agentic workflows. And they're about AI in general. And it really does come down to the metrics. And the metrics is about what is good, what is bad, and how it needs to learn. So let's take this model, for example. Here we have, the idea of your AI. So if you're thinking about AI, we need to be thinking first about the environment. So you need to think about where is it acting. So the bigger the environment, the more inputs you have. So we talk about task allocation and agentic flows working within an environment. We want to be able to have a certain control of an environment. The environment can be dynamic and be changing, but we want to put scope on it. Scope means better learning, better outcomes, better results. So in the document, he talks about 22 services, and each of those task areas having certain metrics. So here we can think about those as an environment. Environment is the players on the environment, the variables that are changing, And we can think of it as a journey. So an agentic workflow starts somewhere. Let's say it's from customer support or communications or creating a proposal. There's basically a start within that environment and there's an end in the environment. So we want to be able to score the process and know what are good actions that are happening within the environment. So first is the environment, how we define the environment. And in this document, we're defining that through the buckets and functional areas, and that those environments are divided by knowledge and tasks that will happen within that space. The next one is a state. So state is really thinking about, let's say we'll take a sales approach. We talk about a funnel. So the state is about the information that we have about a customer and what we're trying to sell them within the environment. So we can think of state as an environment at time. So that's the element. The next part we talk about is action. So action is the outcome. What do we want an agentic workflow to be doing? So when we're getting it to perform a task, we need certain actions. Could be email, could be SMS, could be call a tool, could be something else, right? So that there's an action like we have this environment, we have time, and we're going to perform something. Now, the actions are driven by different things. Our actions are driven by science. So it could be learn action. It could be retrieved by knowledge, like something has happened in the past. So we're using RAG or information retrieval to see in a certain situation in our environment, what is the best practice? And we can call this heuristic. So when it's a LLM or tool calling, become heuristic. So what we've learned in AI is when we start from zero, it performs very badly. But when we treat AI from copying other people, from learning how something is done, whether it's in computer games or playing chess or robotics, using this kind of heuristic concept provides us a baseline and provides the baseline for an agentic workflow to continually improve from. So it's that assumed knowledge that makes an action. Um, if it's a mathematical thing, then we may also be backing up with things like a neural network that is calling, or other tools, Wolf Alpha, or if we're talking about insurance, then maybe it's an underwriting module that we may be calling to create a very strong thing. So the decisions will be between the information we have and the information we can retrieve. What is the best path? How do we make the best decision to be able to form the action that we want? And the next stage we talk about is reward. Reward is very important, whether it's a standard AI or agentic like OpenAI. We can ask it a question, it can give us an answer. Everyone can do that. That's very simple. But this is where projects are failing, is there's no concept of reward. So the reward needs to be the feedback. What has the agent done and is it a good thing or a bad thing? So without the concept of good and bad, because it's going to change for different companies, change for different situations, we need to say, is it good or a bad action or unknown? So the reward can come from a human um, to be able to know how to improve. Without this, we're not going to improve. So improvement can happen in different ways. One, through heuristics again, i.e., adding to a knowledge base for scenarios that you don't know to build up a positive response, or through models. So through either a refined LLM or through neural network or other kind of model. So having that feedback loop is very critical. Our policy is really our strategy that's going forward, how we're going to do things. Because here, if we talk about like a sales pipeline, we talk about uh, states in time that are performing actions. So our policy will be need to be in there for our long-term results. Like where are we trying to go? Overall, what are we trying to achieve? Um, the value function as well. So this is the long-term reward. So if our rewards are not defined well, in the sense of I want to get a response from a customer and we get negative response. So if our metrics are bad and we're feeding bad metrics, we're going to get bad results. But if we're feeding back long-term good metrics, which may require longer term results, like a sales pipeline, where you don't necessarily know if your actions are optimal or not until you get the sale, until you get the results at the end. So we need to know this concept. And then finally, we talk about, the model or testing or simulation area. So why metrics are so important here is because before, what is a good job, what isn't a good job with humans may be kind of ambiguous. It could be people already have a sense of what they do. And one of the biggest issues that CRMs try to resolve is getting different teams and different people aligned with company objectives through KPIs and then different measurements and break it down. So the same applies with the AI. So if you don't know what is good, if you don't have this kind of reward and this ability to feedback results, to extend your knowledge base, to create a model, I mean, it's not necessary have to do both to be able to perform an action, then it's going to be garbage in, garbage out. Like it's only going to do what is average in the current situation. But with the correct feedback loop, then you're going to get results. So let's go back to this document. So we talk about automation, which we talked about, the metrics to do with automation, metrics to do with routing logic, the AI layer. So in here, I'm kind of combined these AI layer, the metrics, enhancement. So super important. Humans are the ones that are adding to that knowledge base in some way, in some format. Uh, efficiency, reinvestment, task velocity, labor replacement over time. So this is the why the new metrics matter. And as we go further into this document, we we break down the reasons to how well are tasks being routed. So this is a good one because this is really as information flows through the system, and we're talking about automation and AI. If it's routed down the kind of wrong routes or the wrong actions, then we're talking about inability to solve it because we don't have the right context to solve it. How much revenue is generated per human plus system? So I guess this is the transformation between, using human labor versus, uh, system or AI labor. I think that's a good metric. How efficient does labor perform compared to automation? This is a tricky one. You know, how efficient does labor perform compared to automation? So I think this is a good thing in the sense of knowing how well your AI is learning or how it's growing within your company to achieve the results you need. Without that kind of benchmark, you don't know if your project is failing or succeeding because you need to do the measurement. And this is probably a historical measurement because as it gets smarter, you definitely want your labor to be performing insights, not performing actions. So this is it's an understandable comparison, and hopefully it's based on historical information over time. And where are we leaking? Time, margins, or motion? So here we talk about the they're good goals to have in place. And one of the reasons we can feedback these metrics is is they need to be combined together to create that reward system. So your metrics will become very important both to the business to know how it's performing, but also very critical to any AI and agentic workflow that's going to act as the reward system. The ability to predict confidence in the sense of how confident it is in terms of making decisions, performing actions, to be able to see these kind of results. So that's all I have for this video, and I think the importance, hopefully, the presentation went through some of the learnings about AI agents and especially where things are going wrong right now and why these metrics as a feedback and a continuous loop are really, really critical to the success of uh, agentic and workflows within, the insurance industries to get real results and optimal results.